Welcome to the Miracle Recap. Great that you're here. Wonderful that we can continue with this, whatever this is. What are we doing here? What are we doing? It's like what is going on in the Miracles Recap? We're in the review lessons and we're reviewing the review lessons. And so this seems to be like almost like a fractal, not ending. Like you repeat what you review, what you have reviewed, and this goes on. And it's great because it's like that will totally help us to release thoughts, to recognize what is true, to let all the rest go, basically, to get out of the way, to do all the things that necessary to let what is just be. That's in fact the whole activity, you could say, that we can do. We as the manifestation, say as the manifestation of denial, like as a human being, you are what the denial is. You're in fact, you're proof that God doesn't exist. And you get confirmation of that in all perception. And that cannot be true. And there has to be a new way to look at that. So to say that very bluntly, shortly, it's like this is the whole thing that's happening. You have trusted a way of looking around, seeing yourself as separate from everything, also from God, while He created you one with Him. So that cannot be true. But still here. So all this, what you perceive, all this, what seems to be going on, is still an echo of a denial. And at a certain point, you don't have to listen to that anymore. And that's in fact the training of the Course in Miracles. Listen to the voice of God that is within you. Like it's comforting. It gives you everything. It helps you. It guides you. It tells you. It lets you experience totality, all of it, as a great gift to itself. And this is the thing that you are going to, that you're going to receive. Step by step, it becomes clear that that is the thing that is, and the rest is not. So the whole idea of self-identification that you have believed in for centuries, for lifetimes, is slowly but certainly rolling up like a carpet behind you and bringing you back to the real moment in which everything is occurring, an eternal moment that is happening right now, right here, in you, recognizing you as itself, you recognizing yourself as everything there is. And so that's an absolutely celebratory event, and that's a great party, so to speak. And you experience that when you allow yourself to go there. Otherwise you don't see it. So that's the thing. Then what we're looking at today, for instance, is the idea of world. I saw in the Urtext, at least, there are like 2,300 references to the idea of world. While it is an unworldly book, you could say, it's coming from out of time, but there are 2,300 references to the idea of world. Now, I will see some of that today, because the lessons between 7 and I think 25 or so are full with references to this world. This world is not real, but the real world, and this world, and a real world, and this world, and the real world. You know, it's like there's that going on continuously, and really interesting to look at it that way, using just one word. And the other one was, the world exists because of the idea of death. If the idea of death did not exist, there would be no world. That was a great inspiration for me today. Like when I started reading, like that's a great inspiration. When there was no such thing, no such idea of death, there would be no world. The world is the place where you come to die. Is literally what it says in the Course. It's like the world is a place where you come to die. Now, if you take a look at it, it is a graveyard. So some go quickly in war or in who knows what, illnesses, and some go slowly. You spread it out over 90 years instead of 20 or 100. And so it's like a graveyard. The earth, as we see it, is like a graveyard. Okay, so come on in. Welcome. Great that you're here. Really wonderful. Come on, take a seat. Well, yeah. Come a little, move a little closer. Yes, wonderful. Okay, here we go. It's like the world you see only exists because of a belief of death. Wherever you look around, everything is dying, it seems to be. Every idea is temporalness. Leaves fall off the tree, flowers go like, ugh. And all this. It's like everything is confirming death to you on a continuing basis. That cannot be the place where you belong, simply. So that is simple to see. If you're not supposed to live on a graveyard, do you? It's like, so that is confrontational. And this is Jesus showing you some blunt statements to shake up the beliefs that you have. If there would be no idea of death, this world would not exist. Great inspiration. I cannot say anything else like this. That's an incredible statement. Now this we look at from the Manual for Teachers perspective. We look at it in the review lessons that we're going to take a look at. We're looking at it from some other parts. Yeah, so we start, I think, with lesson 49 and 50, because we didn't really take a look at them in the last review. That went up to 48. Now we got 2 more left. And then, of course, we're into today's lesson, 55, the review lessons of certain lessons, very much world-related. So, interesting. Now this is like a beautiful bouquet of... as a whole, that's not going to go like that, but staying alive. So that's really great. That's so different. Inviting God's voice. Now that seems to be almost like a contradiction to what I said just before this. But here we go. It is quite possible. This is from lesson 49. It's quite possible to listen to God's voice all day without interrupting your regular activities in any way. The part of your mind in which truth abides is in constant communication with God, whether you are aware of it or not. It is the other part of your mind that functions in the world and obeys the world's laws. It is this part which is constantly distracted, disorganized, and highly uncertain. Yeah, so this is a great expression here from lesson 49. It's quite possible to listen to God's voice all day without interrupting your regular activities in any way. See, even that is a great statement. It's like, okay, you can be in communication with God. You are in communication with God. Now, that doesn't need to be disrupted by your daily activities. It doesn't matter. You can still stay right here in this present communication with your Creator and see that everything just works out just fine. And this is, in fact, your invitation to find your freedom here in this seeming limitation that you find yourself. Like, no, you can be in this world but not of it at all. Just staying in communication, receiving and giving the love of God, being like literally allowing this moment to be whole or continuously, and still peel your potatoes or still who knows what, whatever you do. See, it doesn't need to take away anything. It is not an excuse like, okay, well, now I'm going to be quiet with God, and so you gotta peel the potatoes yourself now. No. You can include it in. See, and this is really beautiful about the lessons. In fact, right from the start, it says, well, open your eyes. Yeah, we include this in. We're not going into a monastery somewhere up on the high mountain, not to literally take a distance from this world. No, we're right in the middle of the marketplace doing our exercises. You look over here in the street, from this window, in this office, in this, who knows what, wherever you find yourself, you can apply this because it's applicable to everything. The great thing about these lessons is that it doesn't make exceptions. Like, it's all included. It is all part of the mesmerism of the seeming world that you appear to be living in. So that's why it works. There's no order of difficulty in illusions. Like, they're all the same. They're illusions. That's it. They're images. They're not even real. They're not facts. They're images, reflections of what you think about yourself. So it's quite possible to listen to the voice of God all day without interrupting your regular activities. The part of your mind which is in which truth abides is in constant communication. Now, where is that part, you ask? So whether you are aware of it or not, you're still in communication with God. Now, here's the thing. It is the other part of your mind that functions in the world and obeys its laws. It is this part which is constantly distracted, disorganized, and highly uncertain. So it is constantly distracted, disorganized, and highly uncertain. That's the part that functions in the mind, in the world, the part of your mind that functions in the world, and it is completely disorganized. Literally, it is what chaos is. Now, the activity of mind, being distracted, is that it constantly is trying to organize its thoughts. But it's organizing its thoughts in a way that it's like trying to organize chaos. So you look at the chaos, like totally random whatevers, and you try to make a law of it. You try to find the red line in it. It's like, no, chaos is chaos. There's no understanding necessary here. Like, it's simply impossible to understand what's going on in your perception, in the way that you experience the world. There is no way of discovering where this is about. No, it's completely chaotic. Chaos has no laws. No, so that is, that's that part of your mind. Now you know that part very well. That is distracted, that is doubtful, that is uncertain, that is constantly wondering, what should I do? Where should I go? How do I do this? No idea. Like, it's completely, in that sense, completely lost and helpless and blind. And because the perception doesn't give any information how to continue on the next step in it, or to how to face the next problem. That doesn't give you any information. That's so great about discovering this now. Now it's literally like, it's totally amazing. It's in black and white. It's written on paper. Here, look at this. This is what's going on. Can you tell? Yeah, I can tell you. The world as I see it is total chaos. I wouldn't know what is the next step for myself. The only thing I feel is that I'm totally doubtful, and that I'm trying to protect myself, because what else can I do here in this chaos? Well, that's the part that is not in communication with God. And in the mind training, you let go of these ideas, continuously letting go of that cannot be it, that cannot be it, and not holding on, and trying to stop the activities of mind in which you try to organize it, try to work it out, try to discover what the laws of perception are, or what the laws of this world are asking you. Like, no, that's useless, totally useless. So if you start to let go of these functions of your mind, that you not organize your thoughts, that you're not trying to make the best, trying to fix the problem, trying to all these things that you do, if you give that up, suddenly there is a moment in which you come into communication and see, wow, this is the real me, so to speak. This is really what is happening, and it doesn't have anything to do with this world. Listen in deep silence. Be very still and open your mind. Go past all the wreckers' shrieks and sick imaginings that cover your real thoughts and obscure your eternal link with God. Sink deep into the peace that waits for you beyond the frantic, riotous thoughts and sounds and sights of this insane world. You do not live there. We are trying to reach your real home. Listen in deep silence. Be very still and open your mind. Go past all the wreckers' shrieks and sick imaginings that cover your real thoughts and obscure your eternal link with God. Sink deep into the peace that waits for you beyond the righteous thoughts and sounds and sights of this insane world. You do not live here. We are trying to reach your real home. Do not forget to repeat today's idea very frequently. Do so with your eyes open when necessary, but closed when possible. And be sure that you sit quietly and repeat the idea for today slowly, when you can, closing your eyes on the world and realizing that you are inviting God's voice to speak to you. God's voice is speaking to me all through the day. Here is an answer. We continue with lesson 50. I'm sustained by the love of God. Here's the answer to every problem that confronts you today and tomorrow and throughout time. In this world, You believe you are sustained by everything but God. Your faith is placed in the most trivial and insane symbols. Pills, money, protective clothing, influence, prestige, being liked, knowing the right people, and an endless list of forms of nothingness which you endow with magical powers. Here is the answer to every problem that confronts you today, tomorrow, and throughout time. I am sustained by the love of God. Only the love of God will protect you in all circumstances. It will lift you out of every trial and raise you high above all the perceived dangers of this world into a climate of perfect peace and safety. It will transport you into a state of mind which nothing can threaten, nothing can disturb, and nothing can intrude upon your eternal calm of the Son of God. I'm sustained by the love of God. So that's like the summary of the first 50 lessons. I'm sustained by the love of God. So in a moment, it's like a little later, we're going to read the reviews of today. There's five review lessons. And before that, I'd like to take a look at the idea of the last thing to overcome is death. Well, this is actually pretty amazing because like there is no such thing as death, and that is not an experience that you have as a human being, because you try to avoid the idea of death continuously. You try to protect yourself from death. You think your safety is depending on ideas like that. And so that's why I thought like this is so wonderful to take a look at. And it is the central theme, in fact, in A Course in Miracles. Not that it's like the idea is there is no world. This world is literally the embodiment of the idea of death. Like in all aspects, you see that reflected. And you don't like that idea to walk around in a world that is basically a graveyard. As I said just a moment ago, it's like, that's not an attractive place. Well, it's also not a place, as you see it, where you really belong. So that's the great thing. So it becomes very obvious, in other words, that your choice for life is dawning on you. Like literally, it's coming into your awareness that you can make the choice to live, to be awake in the life of God, instead of being in a dream of death. No, that's really the choice. So it's like this is a call to awaken, and everything that is being shared in the Course in Miracles, everything is set up for you to come to the remembrance that God is the life in which I live. Like there's only one life, and that's the God life. That's the life I share with God, as it says. Like it's a continual sharing. It's a continual communication. It's a total inclusion of every single one of us. Recognizing the oneness, recognizing the shared oneness. And I don't have to explain that, but it's more like that's what you're that's where you're heading back to, by seeing that everything else disappears, simply because you start to see through it what is actually occurring. Like I'm determined to see things differently. Well, this is one thing you're going to see differently. There is no such thing as death. Death was just an idea. Now we're looking at some of the ideas. And the last to be overcome will be death. And that's from Corinthians 15:26. The last enemy that shall be abolished is death. And here Jesus says, of course, without the idea of death, there is no world. And that was the statement that I introduced in the beginning. Without the idea of death, there is no world. All dreams will end in this one. This is salvation's final goal, the end of all illusions. And in death, all illusions are all illusions born. In death are all illusions born. Because there is no such thing as death. Death is the thing that literally inspires, so to speak, inspires illusions. What can be born of death and still have life? What can be born of death and still have life? But what is born of God and still can die? The inconsistencies, the compromises and the rituals the world fosters in its vain attempts to cling to death and yet to think love real. I'll repeat this one more time. The inconsistencies, the compromises and the rituals the world fosters in its vain attempts to cling to death and yet to think love real are mindless magic, ineffectual and meaningless. God is, and in him all created things must be eternal. Do you not see that otherwise he has an opposite, and fear would be as real as love? No, that's quite the sentence. The inconsistencies, the compromises and the rituals the world fosters in its vain attempts to cling to death and yet to think love real are mindless magic, ineffectual and meaningless. God is, and in him all created things must be eternal. So do you not see that otherwise he has an opposite, and fear would be as real as love? Like, that does not make sense. Like, love has no opposite. Okay, so going back to the beginning of this, what is death? Death is the central dream from which all illusions stem. Is it not madness to think of life as being born, aging, losing vitality and dying in the end? We have asked this question before, but now we need to consider it still more carefully. It is one fixed, unchangeable belief of the world that all things in it are born only to die. It is this one fixed, unchangeable belief of the world that all things in it are born only to die. This is regarded as the way of nature, not to be raised to question, but to be accepted as natural law of life. The cyclical, the changing and the unsure, the undependable and the unsteady, waxing and waning in a certain way upon a certain path. All this is taken as the will of God, and no one asks if a benign creator could will this. See, that expression is like worth a good it's worth a good contemplation. It's like, wow. It is the way of nature. Like, it's the way of nature. Everything dies. Yeah, that's the way of nature. We accept that without asking any questions. Because if you would start to ask questions, you see the insanity of it. Like, this loving creator, creating love like itself, without an opposite. This, you could say, like this omnipotent, incredible God creating everything in its own likeness, and you think there's an opposite to that? See, this is what insanity is. It's like, of course there's no opposite to it, but you're caught in it. You're caught in the opposite, and you think that really is the place for you to be. Now this is total insanity, and it is accepted for a moment and say like, well, there's a way out of this. Do you want to know who you really are? Do you think that it has anything to do with any ideas that you hold now and that you treasure and that you think is natural? Well, that's going to change. There's a revolution going on in your mind in which everything is literally turned upside down. So you think of death as a natural thing, and here in your 180 degrees new vision, like there's no such thing as death. If God created you eternal, like you're an eternal son of God, then there can be no opposite to that. Then there cannot be death. There's literally the one or the other. You believe that you're temporal, or you believe in an eternal, loving God without an opposite. So this is how deep you are in it, that you think it is normal to be born, to be here for a while, and then to die, and to maybe first get sick and then die. Something like this. It's like, if you think that's a normal way of being you, of you being yourself, that this is the best it gets, like it doesn't get any better, that kind of thing, like then you're mistaken, obviously mistaken. And this isn't so obvious in the world, but when you start doing the lessons, it becomes very, very, very obvious that it is a strange belief that you think there's an opposite to love. You think there's an opposite to life. You think there's an opposite to happiness. You think there's an opposite to abundance. You think there's an opposite to overwhelming love. And at the same time, you actually know it too. It's like you know, you have an idea in your mind of perfection. You know, maybe you're being called a perfectionist. It's like you try to do everything perfect. Yes, you know, because you know there's such thing as perfection. Yeah. So this is great. Now imagine that there's a book that when you start using it, for instance, this book, like A Course in Miracles, there's a book. Now you're going to do these exercises, and actually within a very short time you discover that everything that you have thought is based on an idea of death, of limitation. And suddenly you say like, well, I want to see this differently. I'm starting to become really curious if there's another way of looking at this. And step by step, that's going to be introduced to you just by you doing simply the lessons that are, that you follow the instructions of. And before you know it, you have an experience of your truth, of your communication with God, that literally wipes away every idea that you ever held before. You don't know what to do with your happiness when you experience it. Like, the only thing that it inspires to is loving God more and more and more and more. And seeing that that is your reality, that all else can go, you don't need it. There's literally nothing attractive to it. So this is the big shift and the big transformation that's occurring. It's a great awakening that is taking place with an incredible speed up, because you decided to do A Course in Miracles. You started to do the lessons. Every lesson is an opportunity to collapse time of suffering, and it does do that. And I'm inviting you to do the thing that we do when we read it. So these are the lessons of today that we review. It's the 55th day of the year. And here we go. So feel free to join in. Just open your microphone. If you feel like reading, you can just do that. And read it slowly and let it affect you, because that's what this is for. So take your time.
Je suis déterminée à voir les choses différemment. Ce que je vois maintenant ne sont que des signes de maladie, de désastre et de mort. Ce ne peut pas être ce que Dieu a créé pour son Fils bien-aimé. Le fait même que je vois de telles choses est la preuve que je ne comprends pas Dieu. Par conséquent, Je ne comprends pas non plus son Fils. Ce que je vois me dit que je ne sais pas qui je suis. Je suis déterminée à voir les témoins de la vérité en moi plutôt que ceux qui me montrent une illusion de moi-même.
What I see is a form of vengeance. The world I see is hardly the representation of loving thoughts. It is a picture of attack on everything by everything. It is anything but a reflection of the love of God and the love of His Son. It is my own attack thoughts that give rise to this picture. My loving thoughts will save me from this perception of the world and give me the peace of God intended me to have.
I can escape from this world by giving up attack thoughts. Herein lies the salvation and nowhere else. Without attack thoughts, I could not see the world of attack. As forgiveness allows love to return to my awareness, I will see a world of peace and safety and joy. And it is this I choose to see in place of what I look on now.
Je ne perçois pas mon propre intérêt. Comment pourrais-je reconnaître ce qu'est mon propre intérêt quand je ne reconnais pas qui je suis? Ce que je pense être mon intérêt ne ferait que me lier davantage au monde des illusions. Je suis désireux de suivre le guide que Dieu m'a donné pour découvrir ce qu'est mon propre intérêt, en reconnaissant que je ne peux pas le percevoir par moi-même.
I do not know what anything is for. To me, the purpose of everything is to prove that any illusions about myself are real. It is for this purpose that I attempt to use everyone and everything. It is for this that I believe the world is for. Therefore, I do not recognize its real purpose. The purpose I have given the world has led to a frightening picture of it. Let me open my mind to the world's real purpose by withdrawing the one I have given it and learning the truth about it.
So we continue with the one for tomorrow too. My attack thoughts are attacking my invulnerability. How can I know who I am when I see myself as under constant attack? Pain, illness, loss, age, and death seem to threaten me. All my hopes and wishes and plans appear to be at the mercy of a world I cannot control. Yet perfect security and complete fulfillment are my inheritance. I have tried to give my inheritance away in exchange for the world I see, but God has kept my inheritance safe for me. My own real thoughts will teach me what it is.
Above all else, I want to see, recognizing that what I see reflects what I think I am. I realize that vision is my greatest need. The world I see attests to the fearful nature of the self-image I have made. If I would
Remember
who I am, it is essential that I let this image of myself go. As it is replaced by truth, vision will surely be given me. And with this vision, I will look upon the world and on myself with clarity and love.
Above all else, I want to see differently. The world I see holds my fearful self-image in place and guarantees its continuance. While I see the world as I see it now, truth cannot enter my awareness. I would let the door behind this world be opened for me. This I may look past, that I may look past it to the world that reflects the love of God.
God is in everything I see, behind every image I have made. The truth remains unchanged. Behind every veil I have drawn, across the face of love, its light remains undimmed. Beyond all my insane wishes is my will, united with the will of my Father. God is still everywhere and in everything, forever. And we who are part of him will yet look past all appearances and recognize the truth beyond them all.
God is in everything I see because God is in my mind, in my own mind, behind all my insane thoughts of separation and attack, is the knowledge that all is one forever. I have not lost the knowledge of who I am because I have forgotten it. It has been kept for me in the mind of God, who has not left his thoughts, and I, who am among them, am one with them and one with him.
I am not the victim of the world I see. How can I be the victim of a world that can be completely undone if I so choose? My chains are loosened. I can drop them off merely by desiring to do so. The prison door is open. I can leave simply by walking out. Nothing holds me in this world. Only my wish to stay keeps me a prisoner. I would give up my insane wishes and walk into the sunlight at last.
J'ai inventé le monde que je vois. J'ai inventé la prison dans laquelle je me vois. Tout ce que j'ai besoin de faire, c'est de reconnaître cela, et je suis libre. Je me suis illusionnée au point de croire qu'il est possible d'emprisonner le Fils de Dieu. J'ai fait amèrement erreur dans cette croyance que je ne veux plus. Le Fils de Dieu doit être libre à jamais. Il est tel que Dieu l'a créé, et non ce que je voudrais faire de lui. Il est là où Dieu voudrait qu'il soit, et non là où je pense le tenir prisonnier.
There is another way of looking at the world. Since the purpose of the world is not the one I ascribe to it, there must be another way of looking at it. I see everything upside down, and my thoughts are the opposite of the truth. I see the world as a prison, God's Son. It must be then that the world is really a place where he can be set free. I would look upon the world as it is and see it as a place where the Son of God finds his freedom.
I could see peace instead of this. When I see the world as a place of freedom, I realize that it reflects the laws of God instead of the rules I made up for it to obey. I will understand that peace, not war, abides in it, and I will perceive this peace. That peace also abides in the hearts of all who share this place with me.
My mind, part of God's. I am very holy. As I share the peace of the world with my brother, I begin to understand that this peace comes from deep within myself. The world I look upon has taken on the light of my forgiveness and shines forgiveness back at me. In this light, I begin to see what my illusions about myself kept hidden. I begin to understand the holiness of all living things, including myself, and their oneness with me.
So we reviewed now like maybe 15 lessons, but they're all connected to the idea of this world, letting this world go, seeing it, having seen it upside down, just like we said in the beginning. It's like having seen that it's upside down, thinking that's a prison house, thinking that's a graveyard where you come to die, in fact, where you live for a while and then die. Now this is delusion, obviously. Now that becomes very literally like it comes to you as an idea first, and it is an intense idea. You can agree with what it says when you read it. It's like beautiful. Yes, I would love to see this differently, but it's like you have attached yourself to this world temporarily. Now this is being undone. What do you need to do for that? Like, you cannot undo your own mind. This is what you have discovered. You were in this place of limitation, and the simple fact was that you couldn't get out of it yourself. You really believe, in fact, that you are you. The way that you see yourself, you are you. And you don't doubt that. Now here is the Course in Miracles coming in slowly but certainly, very systematically, getting you out of the construct that you believe to be yourself. And that's an amazing idea. It's like literally that came just in the right time. Here you are in this lifetime, having A Course in Miracles on your lap and just starting to read it, or doing the exercises online or whatever. You have your app where you can do it. However, it's great. It's wonderful. Like, don't underestimate the incredibleness. Like, it's incredible that this comes to you in this time, in this place. Now this is your opportunity to really go for it. Like, go for it in the sense of let this happen to you. Allow this change to occur. Be gentle with yourself and be honest with yourself. That's really what this is about. Like, it's about honesty. You have to admit things that are maybe first embarrassing to you. Yes, I fail. Yes, I cannot do it. Like, I'm completely powerless. I can't help myself. Great. That's wonderful. That's great information. Like, that are necessary steps in literally opening up to be guided to something new. Something new in the sense of something that is authentic to your truth. Not confirming illusions anymore, but literally bringing you back to the authentic you that you have always been, like a holy Son of God, with no opposite, with no limitation, with no sickness, with no pain, with no death, with none of these things. And so this is great. So you go through the book, you can say, like, you do 365 lessons, you read the textbook a little bit here and there. It's like you start to be guided literally to go further, First it is like we're going to experience peace. That's the highest goal of A Course in Miracles, experiencing peace. Staying in your center, not being disrupted by the worldly thoughts, in fact, but coming back to, oh yeah, peace of God. Here's the peace. Here's my communication. This is the establishment. Like, this is literally the goal of the Course, is to come to that, to just peace of mind, so that your mind can open and receive the communication that is already yours. And there's more. It doesn't stop there. So it's like that's the purpose of the Course, but it doesn't stop there. So there's more to discover. It's more opening up, because this is an endless, like, it's an eternal expansion that is taking place in you. It doesn't stop. This is just the beginning. So that's a totally exciting idea to hear for me. It's like, I love that idea. And this is not an accomplishment in the future. Otherwise you think, like, well, maybe in 100 years I'm so incredibly enlightened. Like, no, this is a moment. Like, this is an eternal moment. The changes that are inherent in creation is the constancy in it. And that's maybe not so easy to understand, but that's like the whole expansion that is taking place within you is the nature of creation. That's different than the flowers that just go like this when they're dead, or on and on and on. Like, all the comparisons to death seem to be a parody of life. It's not, has nothing to do with what life is. All right, so thank you everyone. Thank you so much for being present here today. In the Miracle Recap, we reviewed some lessons, and we continue next week with more review lessons. And then probably just at the end of it, say another 5. Yeah, we'll already start with the 60s lesson. So that's really beautiful too, because in this doing A Course in Miracles, things are opening up really quick. Basically, like within 60 days, you start to discover the light that you are, and you start to make attempts to connect with it. So that's really wonderful. So I hope to see you next week. Thank you for everything, and bye for now. Thank you so much.